Are you a kind Christian woman, or were you raised with a Christian background? And do you find yourself exhausted, resentful, or sick? You're not alone. Let's chat. That's what we're going to talk about today. I had some recent experiences where I was traveling and I was getting a drink of water at the bar, and there was this gal sitting there with her coworker, and she actually got the wrong drink that she didn't order, and she didn't like it, but she wasn't speaking up. But it was very interesting because her male counterpart, he was like, hey, lady, she got the wrong drink, and had no problem speaking up. So it was very interesting. And then I was on the plane recently, and I couldn't remember even what I needed. And the guy, I was mentioning it to the guy next to me, and he just put his arm up, even though the flight attendant was super busy. And it kind of surprised me, but it also brought even new awareness to something I've already known and talked about. So it's very interesting to see that we as women, a lot of us have received these general messages and have adopted these belief systems, but our male counterparts have not. So that's what we're talking about today. So there's a lot of, and I'm specifically talking to Christian women in this one, or a Christian background, but it applies to other religions, and it applies to people that don't even identify with the Christian belief system, because it's very much within our society. So in that way, it'll apply. But I am going to specifically talk about Christian women because that's what I'm most familiar with. So some of the messages we can get from that background, or the belief system, is that serving others is the highest calling. Consider others more important than yourself. Don't be too much. It's wrong to desire wealth, sex, leadership, or influence. Stay married at all costs. Do it all. Be it all. Think loving thoughts of yourself. It's on the precipice of pride to think loving thoughts about yourself. Prioritizing your wants, your needs, and your desires is selfish. You go along to get along. You color within the lines, obey the rules. But there's lots of other messages. But basically the overarching theme is be small and take little space and focus on others. And that is very destructive and not accurate, actually, biblically. So it's very interesting. And I could blame we could blame our lots of different things for this, but really we are responsible for our own belief system and to question them. And most of this belief system is in our subconscious, and it's worth questioning. So what is the result of these belief systems? Well, we're tired, exhausted, bitter. I see a lot of wonderful women who are bitter, sick. It's very interesting how our body is affected by unprocessed emotions, or just emotions that are stuck. Shame, lots of shame, because maybe we have other desires and wants and we feel very shameful about even having them. Guilt for wanting more, guilt for being less. A lot of times we just are finding we're going through the motions, but we're not really living life. We're not feeling it. We may say we're sorry a lot. This is a common one. It's so interesting, bump into someone, I'm sorry, or just anything, I'm sorry. And that is very, very common for kind Christian women who are in this position, but just people in general. We say sorry a lot. We don't tell the truth about who we are a lot of times and what we want, because we feel like we need to please others. And if they knew, that would really get in the way because it's not lining up with their belief system. We make very little room in the world as possible, and we question ourselves all the time. So that's some of the challenges, and what that leads to is our souls are dying. And I just want to put up the SOS flag. I want to put it up and just say, hey, we are having an SOS challenge, and that stands for SOS, actually stands for Save Our Souls. And that's really what's going on with these belief systems, these unquestioned belief systems, is the belief system of submission, others first, servanthood, is causing a detriment to our souls. And we can feel it. We women, we can feel it. We know, a lot of you know what I'm talking about because you feel it, you know it, even if you haven't articulated it. It's there. So I say, no, not me. We are made for such a time as this, which is a new time and a new opportunity here that a lot of our ancestors did not have. Because historically speaking, we have so much opportunity that we did not have in the past. I mean, it's just very interesting how women over the centuries have been treated. But even in America, we couldn't have our own business checking account without a man's signature until after 1988. So that's like after I'm born, and it's just fascinating. So we really have a lot of opportunity. You know, and knowing all of this, we could have several reactions. We could blame the patriarchy. I could blame my raising in the church, or I could blame my husband, my previous husband. The truth is, I need to own my beliefs, and I need to own that. And that's the most important thing. And so I really want to just say, like, if you think these beliefs that I mentioned are from the Bible, look again. So, and that's something that I just encourage, like, look into it for yourself. Because if we look at Jesus, it's very interesting how he treated women. Because at that time, women weren't allowed to learn the Torah, the Bible, well, the Bible back then, and they were considered second-class citizens. But Jesus was so affirming to women. He was teaching women. He told a woman that, and she was a woman that had, what was it, like 6 or 7 husbands, and was anyways, and he told her that he was the Messiah, and that was the first person he told the truth to about who he was. And it was to a woman. And when he rose again from the dead, according to the Bible, it was a woman that he was the first one to see and believe. So it's very interesting, because if you look at how Jesus treated women, and if he's supposed to be like the God in human flesh, then it gives you a much different picture that a lot of Christianity has been missing. And so I encourage you to study it for yourself. And then when we look a little closer, we see people in the Bible, like just women that have done some remarkable things. And we see that even within our world, and I love it. But I think about people like Rahab. She was a prostitute, and she took a huge risk to help these Jewish spies come in and get them safely out. And she and her whole family was saved. And it was just amazing that she was able to be that brave, risky person. And she is actually counted in the lineage of Jesus. So there's just a lot of other women like Ruth and Esther. So, and even like they call the Proverbs 31 woman. Like if you look and study what she all did, it's very different than what a lot of us have been taught, or what a lot of us have absorbed as beliefs. So I really encourage you to look for yourself and open your mind and question it. Our emotional cups can get full without us really even being aware of it. But when our emotional cups get full, we can react rather than respond. We can be fatigued. We can feel burdened. We have struggle with sleep. We can have physical symptoms. And that's why I have the free Barf Notebook page for you. And it's a simple process done regularly where you're barfing out your thoughts, sorting them out, and planning them out. And it's a wealth of healing in that. So go ahead and check the link and have access to that free Barf Notebook process. Live brighter every day. So, and I really want to say, because I feel like, with this sort of talk, it's easy to like be against men, and that's actually not what I'm saying at all, because I so appreciate men, and I appreciate so much what they add to the world, and I appreciate the differences, because having both boys and girls, raising them, there are definitely differences. I mean, I just think about my son. Boy, he was willing to go headfirst into something without thinking a whole lot about it, whereas my girls are always thinking and this and that. And I see that with men like in other areas, and I love that they have more of the ability to do that. And there's just some different things that are different, and I appreciate that so much. But it doesn't make us any less. It doesn't make us we don't need to be any smaller. And honestly, in work, when I've had men and women, like I've done a couple spec houses, when we're working together, that I believe is when we're strongest. When we're using the differences to grow and to create, it is like a beautiful thing. So I have no problem with that. And I love that many men are waking up to manhood, that they can be both strong and vulnerable, that they can serve in their manhood and learn the language of feelings, that they can process their emotions too and have emotional intelligence. And that actually serves them very well in business. So it's not only it helps them in relationship, it helps them in life. So it's wonderful that more and more men are waking up to that. So I really think, what do we do about that? Well, we change our stories, we update our beliefs. And if you need help, you can just start, you can reach out to me and we can talk about that. But really, the question is, why do we believe some of those things that I mentioned? And what is the fruit of those beliefs in your lives and the people around you? It says that you know a tree by its fruit. And I have to be honest, most of those beliefs I had adopted before I looked at it a little differently. And the fruit that I had from that, it was rotten fruit. And when I examined it, I'm like, wow, this is rotten fruit. There's something wrong with this. And as I discovered, I realized it was my belief systems and things that I had adopted that aren't even biblical. So it's very interesting. The truth is, we were all made to be light on a hill, all of us. And we all have different light. We're different in each way. We're gifted uniquely, and we're supposed to let that light shine, not only for our souls, but for the love of others. And it just shows, God's creativity in us and how we're all just beautiful creations and utterly loved by him. And so that is what we're called to do as women. Let our light shine and give ourselves permission to shine in the way that God's called us. I think it's really interesting. I've had a lot to think about death recently, which that sounds very strange, but my niece, who was 15 recently, passed away. And, it made me, one of many things, but it made me realize that one of the last things, and this doesn't apply to her, she died suddenly of a severe viral infection, and it was just kind of a wiggy situation where her body and a seemingly okay virus was just lethal. And it's been very sad and very challenging. And the end of people's life, it's very, as far as regrets, it's very interesting because we can learn from them. And the most common regret is that people didn't live their lives according to what they believed, that they lived as people pleasers or trying to please other people, but they had a knowing and they didn't listen. And so I just think that's so interesting of how we can learn from that. And we can learn from people that are in that position, that we are made, again, to let our light shine. And that is God's calling for all of us. So let your light shine. Examine those belief systems and live brighter 1% every day. Make it a great day. Stay tuned for our next episode.